Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
With a flat strike. And the flat strike apparently was installed into plaster because the screws are not holding. I wondered if you had any suggestions on how to deal with that.
Does the door swing in?
The door swings in. It's an old New York City apartment.
Yeah.
They had a locksmith come in twice who installed the lock. I was there yesterday, and basically there's these long screws going into the strike plate. It looks like they're in plaster, and obviously they're not holding. So I was calling for some advice whether...
How is it obvious they're not holding?
It's loose.
Oh.
And when I went to it, I could actually pull the screw out. I was able to snug it up a bit, but if somebody gave a good push on that door, they'd be inside the apartment.
Yeah, for sure. Well, underneath the plaster, you know, the idea of the long screws is to hit some solid wood.
Right.
So while it's completely wrong, an installation should never have been attempted over plaster in the first place. A different lock should have been used. How long are the screws that they used?
Gosh, I'm not at the apartment. I'm going to guess 2 to 3 inches.
Oh, okay. So there's really nothing behind there.
Right. Go ahead.
I would abandon the Segal lock type and go with something that you bore through the door. You know, a mortise deadbolt or just a traditional, you know, typical tubular deadbolt. You know, or... Yeah, I mean, if there's literally nothing there underneath the strike, all the way to the opposite side of the wall, there's nothing to do.
So let me ask you, what if would a lead plug resolve the problem? Or resealing the holes and then drilling them again? Or it's just I'm spinning my wheels?
Yeah, yes to the latter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lead plug or something along those lines wouldn't do it.
No. The latter was you're spinning your wheels. Don't.
Right.
I wouldn't install anything over that. There's nothing you can do to make that give you a good level of screw withdrawal strength. You know, I just don't see it.
You know, it looks from the apartment, it looks like there's been a lock there for years. You know, when they moved in the apartment, there was just the old tenant had taken out the lock. And so they called up, which shocks me that a locksmith would put in a new lock and have a strike plate that's not secure.
Yeah, the term locksmith is used pretty broadly sometimes.
And well, I appreciate your help. I appreciate
Yeah, I mean,
help.
the Segal lock is awesome. They're everywhere, obviously in New York, Chicago as well, the old cities. But, you know, it's putting a Band-Aid on an infection. It's the wrong approach. Typical board deadbolt, you know, if you really wanted the strongest thing possible, you could use a mortise-style deadbolt. Something like that's going to be $200-300. Because it doesn't require you to present all the locking hardware on the exterior of the door. It's contained within the door and protected. But at the end of the day, this sounds like a $40 Home Depot, you know, residential grade deadbolt. Now, if you want something extremely robust, if you want something that will give you absolute control over the keys, like high security keys, all that stuff I can help with.
So, well, the thing is, you know, I'm not a locksmith, right? I mean, I could go in and try to fix the screws, which obviously I can't do. But I guess the question is, which may or may not be fair for you, I'm going to call a locksmith up and find a reputable one. And what am I asking for?
Well, I think you explained it perfectly. You know, this guy came and installed a Segal. He put the flat strike over nothing but plaster. There's nothing of substance underneath it. So we just got to install a tubular or a typical board-style deadbolt so that you can drill into the jamb, the wood frame, and at least get some security.
I mean, they have I guess it's the bore style, you know, the bolt that comes out from the door into the frame. This was sort of an extra lock, if you follow.
I do. It should never have been sold, you know, to your daughter. It should never have been done. It's, you know.
Okay, let me ask a second question, okay? So let's say now we forget about that lock. Is there some kind of a device where, you know, it sort of sits on an angle at the door and you put it in when you're inside the house? Do you follow? So you can't push the door open?
Well, I mean, there's the classic chain guards and variations of that you see on hotel doors, but the problem with that is if you can't get a flat strike installed, you won't get that hardware installed either.
Right.
You know, what could possibly be done is a piece of L-shaped steel be mortised to the jamb that you can then attach the flat strike to.
What's that called again? I'm sorry.
Well, it's just imagine a piece of steel, an L-shaped piece of steel. You know, that you mortised it to the rabbet of the frame, and then onto the face of that when the door is closed. That's where you could install your flat strike onto it. You know, you're basically giving it a piece of steel that you can attach to.
And what is the steel getting attached to?
The rabbet of the frame, because it's L-shaped.
Gotcha. So you have to create you have to sort of bevel in the door frame for that to fit.
Mortise, yes, sir.
Mortise, right? Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate and do you sell that type of a product?
Not really. It's going to have to be something that you'd fabricate. You know, probably a piece of 1x1 steel, 1/8 thick, Home Depot, drilling, countersinking, cutting. It's easy to do.
Well, I saw online that the Segal locks have sort of an L shape as an option.
Yeah, you can definitely do an angle strike as well. Part of the security of that is screwing into the face of the frame, and that might be something that you could consider.
Right. Do you sell the angle strikes?
I do.
I have to even make sure it's a Segal lock. You know, I mean,
it may not be. There are not counterfeits. There are copies or clones of it.
Right. Right.
Not that would. Well, you would have to absolutely know whose lock you have. But I do stock Segal angle strikes. That, you know, it may work, and actually it may not, because the positioning of the strike may not line up with the bolts that drop down. So you'd have to contend with that as well.
So I might have to move the lock as well.
Or that might be trouble, but moving the depth of where the strike is located.
Okay, it sounds like my daughter was really taken advantage of by the locksmith. You know, it
definitely is a situation where that is very true, but in reality, if there were to have been a break-in and if something were to have happened, that person is absolutely responsible for that crime, because they knowingly did something. It's the exposure that locksmiths have to being responsible for, even in keying, if a lawyer can find where they didn't follow best practice, your goose is cooked as a working locksmith.
Right, but that doesn't help my child.
Well, it does, because you can tell that person, you'll give my money back, or you're going to call ALOA, A-L-O-A, in Dallas, Texas, and file a complaint.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The National Locksmith Organization. No such person installs a strike over plaster.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate it. I'm going to try to find out who installed the locks and say to them, you got to correct this problem.
Yeah. My opinion would be a full credit, and come and get your hardware.
Right.
That's my opinion. And then, and come up with a truly secure way to give peace of mind, security, safety.
Right. Like I said, they still have the bottom bolt, but, obviously you're in New York City. You want as best security as you can. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.